We're the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. Hotspots magazine spotlights the second annual Pride Center drag brunch at Seminole Hard Rock Hollywood, featuring dazzling queens celebrating honorees and fundraising support for the LGBTQ community programs.
A National Mall prayer rally featuring Trump allies and anti-LGBTQ+ Christian leaders is facing backlash. Critics are warning that it promoted Christian nationalism and intensified anti-queer rhetoric ahead of midterm elections.
Former Colorado Republican Party Chair Hunter Rivera was arrested in a child sex sting operation, facing multiple charges involving minors. Critics point to the hypocrisy of Republicans against the backdrop of their ongoing anti-LGBTQ grooming rhetoric.
Openly gay former Congressman Barney has died at 86, remembered for advancing LGBTQ+ equality, marriage rights, and visibility in American politics despite decades of political attacks.
Harvey Milk Day honors the pioneering gay politician whose fight for LGBT equality, anti-discrimination protections, message of hope continue inspiring queer communities for generations, even after almost 5 decades. All this important LGBTQ news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 12 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our rainbow community. There are no other news programs in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, May 21st. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but we created for the LGBTQ community. Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots, Happening Out South Florida. In 2026, our magazine is celebrating 41 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 14,000 LGBTQ television stories.
We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment show supports our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2026, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host this show to support the LGBT community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Rex Rogosch. Rex is a visionary designer with over 30 years of experience in product design, interior design, and architecture. He performs in the drag community as International Lords and is the current reigning Mr. Scandals 2026. Rex is the president and co-founder of Latera, a 501c3 organization dedicated to advancing mental health awareness through inclusive community-driven events. Welcome to the show, Rex. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. I love that crown. I'm going to remember it on Monday. Let's welcome anchor Larry Farver. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade float design, production, and casting. He is also a board member of the West Side Association. Larry, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight, girl? It's been weeks since I've seen you, like 2 whole weeks.
Yeah, it's good to see you again and be at the same table.
I know, girl.
I'm looking forward to Memorial Day weekend, hopefully getting out to the beach a little bit and maybe even grilling some things in my own backyard.
Oh, you go, girl. You grill it.
Yeah.
Let's welcome one of my dearest friends and fellow anchor, Dr. Bobby Huen. A world traveler, versatile in global affairs, Bobby provides an international perspective on current events. A PhD in conflict resolution, Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Welcome to the show, Bobby. How you been? It's been hours since I last saw you this morning. We have to tell everyone who we saw one time we did coffee in Fort Lauderdale. Who almost got run over by my car because he walked in front of my car in a weird, like, full-piece suit at like 9 in the morning.
It would be Roger Stone.
Really, no friggin' joke.
The original
Stone.
The original red fucker, the rigger of Bush v. Gore, and recent commentator of everything Trumpian.
He was very posed for us when we saw him. I was like, oh God, so yeah, that's what you guys have missed with us being away the last week.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options Magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Why, thank you, Rex. I've been called so much worse in my time. How are you, girl?
I'm doing well.
It's been minutes since we had a discussion.
Like seconds.
I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up drag culture. Hotspots magazine talks about drag, glam, and giving back at Hard Rock for Pride. Our Hotspots happening out LGBTQ lifestyle magazine, Hotspots, is back with a feature on the second annual Pride Center drag brunch at Seminole Hard Rock Cafe, or Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Hollywood, benefiting the Pride Center at Equality Park. The Pride Month celebration takes place Sunday, May 31st, beginning with a cocktail reception at 11:30 a.m., followed by a high-energy drag show from 1 to 3 p.m. Performers include RuPaul's Drag Race Season 18 breakout star Mia Star, along with Daisy Dead Petals, Erica Norell, TP Lords, Twink, and Christopher Peterson. WSVN's Deco Drive personality Alex Morash will host the Pride Center Icon Awards, honoring Lambda Legal CEO Kevin Jennings, legal analyst Katie Fang, and Fort Lauderdale Police Chief William C. Schultz. Robert Boo, CEO of the Pride Center at Equality Park, says, quote, "Pride is about joy, visibility, and showing up for one another. This event captures that spirit while directly supporting programs that change lives," end quote. This featured story and many more are included in your free copy of the upcoming issue of Hotspots magazine, which is already on stands today. And can I just say, this sounds like both an amazing event, and I'm glad that, as usual, it has a great hot man on the cover of this print edition. You go, Hotspots. I love it.
No, Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino has been a huge supporter of almost any organization here in Wilton Manor, so it's really great to...
And you have a relationship with potentially a drag grandmother of yours is performing.
Yes, Lords I'm part of the House of Lords, and my drag grandmother, overall house mother is what we call her. We don't call anybody grandmother or grandfather, but overall house mother is performing there. Daisy Dead Petals was a personal friend of mine. TP Lords, which is a personal friend of mine, as well as my mother, Erica Norell. So yeah, it's going to be nonstop action. All of those people are icons in this community, and they always deliver on stage.
It sounds very fun. What do you think, Bobby? I was a little surprised to see a police chief being given an award, just because there's a lot of issues between police and the queer community occasionally. So it's different.
I've just found it a little odd that he is a member honorees, not necessarily because he is homophobic or anything, but I do remember that Mr. Chief Schultz does hang out on Woodland Drive quite a few times. Because I just remember that Owen knows him when he was in his days as working for one of the prominent bars on Woodland Drive.
Are you familiar with some, Larry? I'm personally not familiar.
No, from what I understand, that he is very LGBTQ friendly. And certainly I know our police department and our beloved Wilton Manors next door is amazing. So I have not heard any negative press. I mean, I know in other parts of the country We're not as fortunate to have police that are embracing the community. I know Wilton Manor's motto is really educate first, and really they try to make everything inclusive. They have sensitivity training. And I also want to say, on a positive note, I'm always excited for an event that has Alex Miranda. I'm a big fan.
Do you think the police chief would do good as a shirtless model for Hotspots sometime?
I don't know what he carries under that shirt.
I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up the USA View. National Mall Prayer Rally promoted Christian nationalism and anti-LGBTQ+ ahead of midterms. A 9-hour prayer rally on the National Mall is drawing criticism from LGBTQ+ advocates and political commentators who say the event blurred the line between religion and government as it added to the anti-LGBTQ+ rhetoric ahead of the midterm elections. The white Christian-only event called, quote, Rededicate 250, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving, end quote, featured messages from President Donald Trump, Speaker Mike Johnson, Vice President J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and several conservative Christian leaders. Johnson stood on that stage and prayed over the nation to save it from, quote, sinister ideologies, end quote. Commentator John Casey writes about the rally in The Advocate, saying, quote, this 9-hour prayer marathon wasn't a holy gathering. It was a cynical get-out-the-vote operation underwritten by the taxpayer dollars and private church money. It was a calculated attempt to energize the evangelical base, end quote. The rally also featured clergy members with long histories of anti-LGBTQ+ statements, including evangelist Frank Graham and Robert Jeffress. Graham has previously supported international laws criminalizing homosexuality, while Jeffress has referred to homosexuality as a perversion. President Donald Trump delivered a pre-recorded scripture reading from the Oval Office, quoting 2 Chronicles 7:14. Queer advocates warn the event signals a renewed push to making queer rights a central issue in the upcoming midterm campaigns. Critics say the rally reflected growing concerns about the merging of conservative politics and Christian nationalism in the United States. So I don't have a problem with the fact that they had a rally. Anybody can have a rally. What I have a problem with is that we don't, in this rally, have separation of church and state. The president, vice president, speaker, none of them should have had any business saying anything, pre-recorded or not, at this rally. Period.
I'm actually surprised that Pete can stand up to actually go to a rally. But actually the idea of politicians attending prayer rally goes deep and far deep. I mean, it's been happening since Bush Jr. at the very least.
Doesn't make it right.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. It doesn't mean that it is right, but it is now turbocharged up to 11. It is now so prominent that literally the government is incorporating Christian nationalism into the rhetoric in itself.
Correct.
The whole idea, for example, that AI-generated image of Trump as Jesus.
As a doctor? Yeah.
Not, sure, doctor, as Jesus, the whole idea that these people on Pete Hegseth using scriptures to justify the Iran war. All these, even Bush didn't do this, and Bush was one of our very, very religious president and administration were trying to suppress queer rights all over the place. But even Bush does not dare to claim scripture or claim some kind of spiritual authority for foreign and domestic policy decisions.
Okay, great. So they attend, but the fact that President Trump did it from the Oval Office is a problem.
Oh, yes.
That is a problem.
I mean, the fact that we had this thing had taxpayer assistance, I just wanted a quick shout out to John Casey for doing such good reporting on this at The Advocate. Love their work there, but it is absolutely unhinged that you have the government paying for it, but also this is not in a little box by itself. The federal government is also now using federal money to give Trump and his friends legal aid. And then even if you're a pro-lifer who's done a protest and you harass people, they want to give you money. This is this giant support from Trump to everyone he likes. And I say, well then fine. When I want Kamala or whoever's the next president, I want her to actually fund all the trans stuff. I want her to pay me for being a queer. I expect the Democrats to give me all sorts of money. If you're going to let the Christians get all this money. But also, I think there would be a great case looking at the way that Trump has been designating groups terrorists and Florida's been terrorists. This looks more like a terrorist event than a traditional religious event. Why is the government not banning it outright, considering they said they're going to start banning all the queer marches and whatnot?
And if I can add, I think that it's a wake-up call for all the people who are excluded religiously and ethnically. Midterm elections and, of course, the presidential election in the future. I hope this is a wake-up call. I hope that the message can get out that
people can afford gas or food right now.
No,
and that is why this kind of rallies exist. It just diverts attention from bread and butter issues and say that, hey, we don't like queers. Come join us to vote against the queers.
But why can they not afford gas right now?
Well,
there's one man, only one human being on earth is responsible for why gas is expensive, and it's because the president decided to go to a war without no congressional support that no one else has ever done.
And our great leader has said, I really can't worry about people's finances. I'm misquoting him, but basically that general idea, we just have to focus on
I mean, he
misquotes everyone. You don't have to be accurate with him.
He went straight to let them eat cake. Like,
yes,
I don't care about the affordability crisis. I don't care that people cannot afford gas, insurance, healthcare, food, but, worship me. I'm the God.
Can I just say, a 9-hour event? I know. Like some of the Pride event, like New York City Pride will tell me it's 12 hours, and I just look at that as insane. And then I see 9 hours of it. My God, that sounds like one of the most hollow stories of religious dedication I've ever heard.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up politics. Colorado GOP leader arrested on child sex crime charges following online sting operation. Hunter Rivera, the now former chairman of the Weld County Republican Party in Colorado, was arrested last week when a sting operation was conducted with investigators and the Larimer County Sheriff's Office posing online as minors offering sexual acts for sale. Rivera now faces charges including soliciting a child prostitute, internet luring of a child, soliciting to arrange a minor prostitute in cybercrime, and attempted sexual assault on a child. Rivera resigned from his leadership role immediately following the arrest. He previously chaired the Northern Colorado chapter of Young Republicans. Sheriff John Huen said in a statement, quote, "Children are not property to be bought or sold. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and we won't tolerate it in Larimer County. I hope this operation sends a strong message. It doesn't matter who you are. If you try to hurt kids in our community, you will be held accountable," end quote. The arrest comes amid ongoing political rhetoric from some Republican leaders accusing LGBTQ+ people, drag queens, and allies of, quote, grooming, end quote, children. Despite repeated arrests of Republican officials and activists in child sex crime investigations. Well, we do see the wave. We see the evidence. We need to somehow get that out there to the mainstream, who are being deflected by our leader and all of his cronies.
But it is out there in the mainstream. The problem is
people are ignoring it.
That's exactly right. Okay. People are ignoring it. More and more people, who are cutting cable and cutting this and cutting that, they don't get the full news anymore. They get the news that they receive through their phone, through TikTok, so
you're right.
These conservative people don't get both sides of the story.
No, they see like their friends posting Facebook queer, anti-queer hoaxes or, claim of grooming, but they never actually look into it. The lack of critical thinking is a result of Republicans gutting public education for the last 40 years. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to look for evidence. They don't want your critical thinking skills. They want you to take the job, like it, suffer from the low salary, don't ask questions, worship billionaires, listen to your pastor, beat up queer people, and not question them when the pastor of their own very church goes in the back and try to solicit, a little child for sexual favors.
In defense of the American public, I think Americans are smarter than people give them credit. This is a leader of the Young Republicans. That's not the same thing as in 2006, there was a whole scandal with the U.S. Speaker of the House, who was also a Republican, who was having sex with children. This is there is a pattern of weird sex crimes in this country, and it is the Republican Party that seems to be involved with this, and religious Christian extremists. I don't quite understand why they're like, oh, I want to be a right-winger and touch children. I don't get where the connection is, but you can't deny that seems to be very real. And voters did throw the Republican Party out in 2006 in many ways because of that sex scandal attacking children. I don't think a young Republican rises to quite the same level of voter concern, though I will say that this is not the only young Republican scandal in the last 6 months. Young Republicans are just a mess. I used to be a young Democrat, and they were a weird mess, but this is a whole new level.
Because we are now at a situation where the young Republicans no longer have competent leadership and guidance. When the people up top, the old Republicans, as opposed to the young ones, are that much, into grift, into, propaganda. We just caught college Republicans in FIU and UF using racial slurs and derogatory language in their communication, openly advocates violence against minorities. These are learned behavior, or as Olivia Pope from Scandal once said, fish rots from the head. When the higher-ups are not behaving, why would you expect people who are downstream to behave?
And like I said, we already have a society that has constantly overlooked the rotting fish head in our country right now. So why would this be any different?
Exactly.
Yes, he was caught. Thank God. Yes, will serve time and have hopefully due justice served him. But then that's it. Nobody's going to say anything about it. The public is so dead to it.
The public is insensitive.
Desensitized.
Desensitized.
Yeah. You defend the public. They're dealing with so much being thrown at them at once. So the one thing, I do have to call out one bit of fake news, Bobby. You were implying the Republicans at one point were not rotten to the core, and I have no idea what time in history you could be referring to.
No comment.
Look at Nixon's taxes, people, before you even get to Watergate, and Reagan, and Iran-Contra, and just the way that they've been openly trying to criminalize us for most of our existence. It's always been a rotten to the core party.
I'm Bobby Huen, and let's queer up politics. LGBTQ plus icon Trailblazer, Barney Frank dies at 86 after decades of shaping gay representation in Congress. Frank died Tuesday at his home in Maine after entering hospice care with congestive heart failure. The longtime Massachusetts congressman made history in 1987 when he became the first member of Congress to voluntarily come out as gay while in office. His decision marked a major turning point for LGBTQ plus visibility in American politics. Frank told the Boston Globe in 2011, quote, "Prejudice is based on ignorance, and the best way to counterbalance it is with a living example, with reality," end quote. During his career, Frank pushed for queer equality while facing repeated attacks from political opponents. In 1995, Republican House Majority Leader Dick Armey referred to him as Barney Fag, later claiming it was accidental. In 2006, Republican John Hostetler accused Frank of promoting a, quote, radical homosexual agenda, end quote. Frank responded to each slur and attack by defending equal rights for LGBTQ Americans, including marriage equality, military service, and workplace protections. In 2012, at age 72, Frank married Jim Reddy, becoming the first sitting member of Congress to marry someone of the same sex. He also pushed for same-sex partners to receive the same recognition as spouses of other lawmakers at official events. Frank also believed in outing a closeted politician while they were using their position to harm LGBT people. Some of his statements created controversies, including his final interview from hospice care, where Frank urged Democrats to shift focus away from some transgender sports issues while still supporting trans healthcare access and gender recognition rights. Nevertheless, Barney Frank will always be one of the leaders who paved the way for future generations of openly queer leaders in public office. Well, I do have an anecdote, but Alex is going to have a more more important one, but I do have
Tell us your story.
I have an anecdote for that is related to Barney Frank. In the late 90s, when I was a wee boy, I was checking to see where to go to college, and Boston actually is the place I chose primarily because Barney Frank's openness of being gay signals to me that state is probably the least of all evils when it comes to queer representation. And as a queer person, I know that I want to be there just because that, I don't want to go somewhere where I will be unrecognized or worse, have violence inflicted upon our community. And so for me, and the fact that actually I have friends from college who actually are from Cape Cod, which is where his district is, was very important. And Alex, I understand that you actually know Barney.
Yeah. Well, I've met him, and our investigative reporter team may have uncovered some special evidence about Barney Frank and I, where that is me introducing Barney Frank at the 2003 Massachusetts Youth Pride event. I remember meeting him. He's very big on making sure you say the correct things about him, so he would have reminded me to tell you that it was Gary Stubbs who you were thinking about that represented Cape Cod. His district was the original gerrymandered district, and he reminded me to make sure I said that he wasn't the first gay congressman, the first one to voluntarily come out because of Gary Stubbs. He was very sweet, though. Always a fun guy. In fact, I think we should take 2 seconds to think about some of the funniest things he's ever said. In response to being called Barney fag and the man saying it was a mistake, Barney responded to people being like, I called up my mother and said, how many times have you accidentally been called fag? Not once. Isn't that weird? Then, when trying to deal with the activists who did not want healthcare expanded, who would say stupid things like, get your hands off my Medicare, he would remind people that talking to them is like talking to a dining room table. And then I will say with this last interview he did before he passed away, I had to chuckle because Barney is a very fun person. He was talking about his book coming out, and he's like, well, I'm on a tight deadline. No joke. He was talking about he was on a deadline. And, the other story I'll mention is a friend of mine, not related to Barney Frank. He's the former city council president of Chelsea, Massachusetts. Our friend Steve Driscoll, who's a big LGBTQ rights activist in Massachusetts, who knows Barney and also has a home in Wilton Manors, he put Matt Frank up to picking Barney Frank up for an event and gave Barney Frank Matt's cell phone number. And Barney Frank was like, I'm not, it's raining, so I don't want to go. But then, anytime Barney Frank had a question about Chelsea, Massachusetts, he would call up poor Matt, and Matt felt like he had to be an aide and get the question. I always get a kick out of that, how Barney could just call people up. So there's a loving history. There's definitely more of his legacy we can get into in this discussion, but those are just some sweet anecdotes. He's just a very funny guy, and it's just sad to see him go.
Well, he also had legislation with his name on it, like Dodd-Frank, which actually helped regulate banks after the Great Recession.
Not just regulate banks, he helped create the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He had a very big legacy. When you're looking at Democrats and what is a good Democrat versus a do-nothing Democrat, Barney Frank actually passed legislation. He also, we were talking about in the show, he did something that I wish more Democrats would do. He retired before 86. He retired when he was 72 or 73 years old. Wouldn't it be amazing if Chuck Schumer took that advice, or if Nancy Pelosi had taken that advice, or if so many other countless Democrats? Look, if Joe Biden had done that, we wouldn't be in the current situation we're in right now.
Yeah, I would just have to say, thank you, Barney Frank, for all you've done for our community and the country in general. I think, it shows a lot when, no matter what party you're in, he displayed a great sense of humor. He, responded with humor many times, and I think that's a great legacy to leave behind.
And I think that Matt anecdote. By the way, hi Frank. Hi Matt. Yeah, but the thing is, this is about a congressperson. He bothers Matt because he wants to work for his constituents. There are a lot of representatives these days who are basically holed up either in D.C. or in their own little campaign office and refuse to respond to constituent requests. And I think that's a very important thing, that when you got elected, You are working for the people, not just a paycheck from the feds.
The whole having to tell a woman talking to you is like talking to a dining room table. That was a town hall meeting. Something that, like a congressman down here, Jared Moskowitz, he's been getting indivisible, keeps hitting him for not doing a town hall. And how many Republicans have never done a town hall? Barney Frank would do it. You have to be aware that, like, mess with Barney Frank, he's going to go right back at you, though. Well, the other thing looking at his legacy, I will discuss, like, I think his advice to the Democratic Party is great advice for 1996, not 2026. But also, one of the things I love about Barney Frank is he's so the type that would hash it out with you. And I just, my sympathy to everyone I know in Massachusetts who's mourning him right now, and all of us at Queer News Tonight. You know, he really was a legend for the LGBTQ community. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up the USA View. Celebrating Harvey Milk Day to honor this LGBTQ pioneer who helped shape our fight for equality. As communities across the country mark Harvey Milk Day on May 22nd, that's tomorrow, kids, many are reflecting on the lasting legacy of one of America's first openly gay elected officials. Harvey Milk became a groundbreaking figure in queer history after winning a seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1977. His election marked a major milestone for LGBTQ representation in U.S. politics. Born in New York in 1930, Milk later moved to San Francisco, where he became a leading voice for gay rights activism in the city's Castro neighborhood. During his time in office, Milk sponsored and helped pass an anti-discrimination ordinance protecting people based on sexual orientation. He also advocated for queer youth and played a major role in defeating California's Proposition 6, a measure that sought to ban LGBTQ public school teachers. Milk was widely known for his passionate speeches and message of hope. In another well-known quote, Milk declared, quote, "If a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door in the country," end quote. Milk and San Francisco Mayor George Moscone were assassinated in 1978 by a former colleague. Milk was 48 years old. As we conclude today's episode, we leave you on an inspiring note by remembering Harvey Milk, a pioneer whose courage, hope, and fight for equality to continue to inspire generations across the queer community and beyond. And let me say, really and beyond, you know. I have always been a big Harvey Milk fan, so much so that there was a time when it was very in on Twitter to tweet at Grok which historical figure you most like, and according to the 22,000 tweets I had once done, Harvey Milk was the man I found the most like, and the reason why was not just the LGBTQ stuff, because he and I are both very pro-queer. I love Dick. How could I not be pro-gay? But also, he had a huge history of involvement with union activism and labor. One of the first groups that supported him for city council was one of the unions. I think it was the Teamsters, to be exact, over the Coors protest. He got all the gay bars to take out Coors beer because they were screwing with the Teamsters. And let me tell you, the Teamsters do not mess around, people. If they are on your side, you're going to go far. And Harvey, he was just great with that stuff. He wasn't just about LGBTQ rights. He wasn't one of those, like, remember, the LGBTQ establishment in the 1970s did not support Harvey Milk. They were going with this clean, like, buttoned-up gay guy. They wanted to win that seat. And the public and Harvey, they took it from him. They took out the machine. And I love Harvey for that stuff.
I think something that we should, not only Harvey Milk, but, we were just talking about Mr. Frank. These politicians who are openly gay, yes, they are fighting for our rights as an LGBT community, but they were also fighting for the rights of their constituents at large. So it makes them more recognizable. It makes them more approachable. It makes them more loved. And, I just hope that, we don't have this swing, because we don't see a lot of politicians that are openly gay that talk about anything but that. And I think that alienates them, where we're talking about two men who everybody knew and pretty much everybody loved because they reached out to everybody.
Mm-hmm. I do think there is a connection between their seeing discrimination as a queer person and that sense of justice for other communities. Oh. Whether you're talking about Harvey Milk or Barney Frank, and as you were talking about, having openly elected officials, especially back when there was almost no out people, really was a big deal. I remember as a kid knowing Barney Frank was there made me feel better. You moved to Boston for school because an openly gay elected official was there, and I'm sure countless people flocked to San Francisco because of Harvey Milk.
And also, I just want to, not to switch gears to bad stuff, but I also want to point out that when Dan White killed Harvey Milk, he was, the resulting legal theory to get him off, which he did, he was convicted of manslaughter instead of murder, as it should have, was the Twinkie defense. The idea that he consumed so much artificial foods that he is not of sound mind. The thing is, it's like the gay panic defense. It is an excuse for a largely publicly selected jury to essentially excuse the homophobia by using a novel legal theory in order to prevent LGBTQ victims from getting justice. You see it today too. Oh, a trans person attacked me, or I didn't know she was trans, and we started to have relations, and I saw dick, and therefore I was scared, and bam, bam, bam.
I've never been afraid to see dick.
Neither have I. But the point is that these people are pioneers, but there's still a long way to go. We are still seeing the effects of what killed them years and decades after.
When juries do injustice, there are consequences. I remember watching the Harvey Milk documentary, and people forget, after the verdict and what happened,
the White Night riots.
There was riots, and what people don't remember, the thing that moved me and shook me the most was the out-elected official to replace Harvey Milk. He defended those riots, and I'm like, could you imagine a politician other than Donald Trump defending a community crying out like that? They're too scared to defend people these days. But you do that stuff, communities react. The Rodney King is a similar event where if you do such acts of injustice, society freaks out. And that's what happens when you do things like the Twinkie defense.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, a lot of good points made here at this table. Harvey Milk, his assassination came at a time when I was a very, very young, early teens. And I remember even traveling out to California on a family trip, and soon after the assassination, how big of a story that remained during the trip where I was out there. But, figures such as Harvey Milk need to be remembered and honored forever, not only in our community, but in our society. Because, he was a stepping stone and gave me strength to pursue becoming the man that I am today, rather than being a closeted gay person.
That's wonderful.
And finally, I just want to point out that San Francisco has gone through a lot of changes these days, and a lot of things are corporatized. Recently, there was a small chain of coffee called Phil's that has one in Castro. They proudly hang the rainbow flag until the CEO mandated or taken down. In Harvey Milk, San Francisco.
Didn't they put them back?
They put them back after public pressure, but they should never have been. But they should never have been removed in the goddamn first place.
This kind of gets to then my final point as we close out. For those that are how do I try to honor Harvey Milk's legacy? I would say the most likely group to get involved with, partially because a bunch of them are old school guys who are literally helping Harvey Milk with the Coors boycott. Pride at Work, the LGBTQ union organization connected to the AFL-CIO. If we go find Pride at Work, they're a good group of people. They're very much honoring Harvey Milk's legacy to this day. These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ community.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the Passion Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Alex Morash, and I thank you for joining us on behalf of my fellow LGBTQ anchors here at Queer News Tonight, Rex Rogosch, Larry Farver, and Dr. Bobby Huen. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we wish you good night.